Second to last match of this current batch of recordings that I still have and want to get through before potentially another update drops. I am playing as Giant Specialist with Arclight and Sledgehammer against Dragon TFC, I would say, is the split is like here, who is still thinking and ends up going for Crawlers, Stormcrawlers with Heavy Armor Specialist. Fairly balanced loadout at the start, I would say. Depending on the first unit choices, either side can win, I think. Now, what I usually do in like what feels like 75 of my games is just get 2 packs of crawlers and put them behind the tower, if I don't start with crawlers already. My opponent did position some additional marksmen here, which are a good choice against both sledgehammers and arclights. Now, positioning will be everything in this first round. My opponent apparently puts his Stormcrawlers on the outside of the towers. It turns out that my timing is kinda impeccable for these units. That Arclight gets clipped a bit, but all in all, I think that is about as good as a waste of the first salvo on the Stormcrawlers as I can even hope to expect. Marksman here goes down. That Marksman unfortunately not, because the Stormcrawlers were able to protect it. But I'm starting to hate that tower. And under the tower debuff, tanks will only laugh at Stormcrawler shots. Really, all that this first round was coming down to is the positioning of the crawlers. Nothing else really matters. We have subsidized crawlers and Stormcrawlers. Also elite Mustangs or missile device specialist, but missile device specialist is way too early, I think, here. Both of these are actually good. And since I can already level one of my crawler packs, I end up taking subsidized crawlers right now because I'm already breaking even on that. But what does my opponent take? He could go further into Stormcrawlers with the subsidized tech here. Or the subsidized card here. It's not really a tech. He ends up taking the crawlers as well. So at least for the time being, it seems that he is not really going to drop more Stormcrawlers into this fight. I end up putting just more chaff down. I put some of my signature late fangs here. But what does my opponent do with the rest of his supply? I think he also dropped some additional crawlers. Will he invest into another pack of crawlers or another marksman maybe? He could also unlock another unit, I think. Drum roll, please. He invests into another marksman. Okay, that is about what I think I remembered. Round number 2. Against the marksman, this late chaff is definitely going to be good. Unfortunately, there's nothing yet to protect this Arclight in the middle, so it is kind of destined to just get sniped. It will take out a chunk of crawlers, but not all of them. That said, I have sledges here that can just take the chaff clear over, so it's not that big of a deal. Crawlers are once again moving in, and my opponent does not have enough chaff clear to deal with them. Late chaff is up and ready to protect against the marksman, but the marksman is going down before it can actually do much. And my tanks have pushed on the last few remaining Stormcrawlers, which means this round is also a win on my side. Round number 3. A lot of chaff clear in these units and air power in these units. He ends up taking the Vulcan, which means I'm basically facing Marksman Vulcan once again. I am not sure what I took in this match right now. I ended up taking the Typhoons. Okay. Typhoons and additional chaff, at least one unit. Yeah, that is to counter the marksman instantly sniping my poor little Arclight here. So what do I end up doing with the rest of my money? I drop an additional sledgehammer level here and put some more sledges out and some more crawlers out. And that basically completes my setup of chaff, at least for these few rounds. However, my opponent has all of that countered with these Vulcans. They definitely were a very good drop for him. I do have some additional chaff clear, but chaff clear wasn't really my problem the last few rounds. It was a lot more his problem. Now the Vulcans are perpetually engaged in chaff clearing. However, he does not yet have full chaff clear coverage. Some of the trawlers get in on the marksman here. And the Arclight is probably finishing the job. Yeah, it is, before it goes down. I actually do have a decent bit of DPS in these Typhoons, but unfortunately there's not really much to compete with the remaining marksmen and Vulcan forces here. Definitely the late chaff once again coming in handy, but there simply is not enough DPS to deal with these Vulcans here. So for the first time in this match, my opponent takes the round. We have additional fire, we have Giant Hunter, we have extended range Arclights and absorption module. I think literally everything here is at least worth a thought. I end up going for Giant Hunter because it's round 4 and my opponent has 2 Giants on the field as well. I do end up leveling my Chaff, and I think I did that recently, and I think I have been finding quite a bit of success. But against Vulcans, I don't want to do it again. I right now start using Overlords, because once again, I'm not entirely sure how you counter Marksman Vulcan. There is a case to be made for Fortresses, but they are not as good, because against Marksman Vulcan Phoenix, the Fortresses can literally attack both units at the same time, which is not the case for Marksman Vulcan. So I'm unsure as of yet how to really shut it down. Honestly, looking at it in plain daylight a couple of days later, I think the answer might just be get Scorpions. Could be wrong though. Could be wrong though. We'll see what ends up happening. I have spent my supply on the Overlord and what else? I think on tank levels, if I'm not mistaken. And my opponent... yeah, he took that. He took the absorption module. What did I get here? Oh yeah, I got Giant Hunter. That is where my money went. Now he put the absorption module on this Vulcan here. So it will definitely heal at a decent rate, but Vulcans don't do that insane amount of damage that other giants do, like fortresses and melting points, at least not if there is not insane amounts of targets in the AoE. I guess the other giants also have either AoE or scaling damage. Overlord here definitely going to be a good amount of DPS against this Vulcan. You can see its health dropping and regenerating, but the Overlord is definitely out DPSing its heal. The Typhoon here tanking, and some crawlers actually got in behind. Which means I have managed to make some money this turn, but not enough yet to make up for taking Giant Hunter. I'm still down 50 in supply, but the money machine is starting to roll. Scorpions here, dropped just in time. Also Wasps in theory. My opponent ends up taking the Rhino. I'm not sure what I took. I don't think it was the race, but everything else is at least somewhat viable. I think he sold the Rhino, yeah. He financed a good amount of upgrades so far and still has a lot of money in the bank. I ended up taking the Wasps. Yeah, in retrospect, I think I would have liked to take the Scorpions, but I think I might have been thinking along the side of I've already gotten a counter against his Vulcan health in the Overlords, so I don't want to necessarily invest into getting another unit that hits very hard on the ground. I'm starting to stack some Overlords on this side here. Now my opponent got rapid reload or quick reload on the marksman. So while they do less damage now, they reload a lot faster. Which is actually pretty good against these Wasps. I even put a tech on these Wasps. Yeah, I think I remember now. My thought was going into Overlords, get Wasp production and hope that this helps against his marksman. Typhoon's definitely still wrecking the Chaff on this side. Not a bad investment at the moment, I think. But I also think that once the other units start getting more damage, they will kinda lose their viability, at least a bit, I think. They are definitely solid chaff clear, but they can also be shut down rather quickly. The combined firepower of all of these Overlords is destroying the Overlord with the heal, which means as of this point I have broken even on Giant Hunter, and everything I get beyond that is now extra. That said, my opponent's marksman did get rid of the wasps a lot quicker than I had hoped. However, there's only 2 marksmen left, and that is not enough against 3 overlords. So I end up taking... Oh, there's another marksman here that I didn't see. I end up taking some additional giants, and that means some additional money. My opponent's health is looking very bad right now. Nuke comes out potentially. Definitely worth a thought about finishing it. My opponent takes it, and I take it too. So this could very easily become the last round. That said, my opponent has an advantage that I don't have against nukes. And that is, my opponent can put shields on top of his units. I can't do that. I have no shields on the wasps, and even if I had, the overlords couldn't survive it unless they have insane health. My opponent also now drops the area specialization on the marksman, which will help them do a ton of extra damage. Also, a good amount of levels on everything here comes out. He's going fully head-on into just Vulcans and marksmen. Nukes should help. They are dropped on opposite sides of the battlefield. Some overlords here can actually survive, but I don't think they will survive for long. There's not enough chaff here to keep the marksmen engaged in fighting chaff. Like, I have done a good job so far, I think, in spreading my chaff out and making it so that my opponent can't clear it so quickly that it gets cleared before the fight is over. That said, I've lost all of my heavy hitters either to a nuke or to the just anti-air marksman. Some crawlers on my opponent's side survived, which means they get the tower, and that ends up being a pretty dominant round for my opponent. Though it's kinda hard to gauge because the nuke killed a lot on my side. To be fair, it also killed a lot on his side, I think, but not enough.